Greetings, my name is John Wagner, and in this video we're going to look at creating a seeded random pseudo random number generator, and I'm going to be using the Excel's Lambda and Let functions to do that. This was a project that I started. I needed a little bit of a random number generator, but Excel's random number generator is a volatile function, which means that I get the different value each time I use it, and that wasn't going to work in my case. So I created this one that is rand. In this case, I named it rand SD for seeded. It can take up to 3 seeds. So if you put in 100 in here, let's see, 100, let's go 200, 300 or something. You're going to get a value if you copy that down. It's always going to be the same with those particular seeds. In this case, I left the second and third parameters optional, so it still will work if you put in 2 parameters, or if you put in 1 parameter. It does require at least one seed. In this case, the way I set it up, you can modify it any way you like, but if you for the second parameter, we'll use the row number, so you'll actually get different values for the different rows, and for the third seed I'm using the column number, so you actually get different values for the different columns. But these are not volatile functions, so that it doesn't recalculate them every time you load the spreadsheet. So let's get started. I'm using the Wichmann-Hill algorithm, and I'll go over here. Well, let's see. Now I'll go over here. We'll take a look at, this is just a Wikipedia page from Wichmann-Hill. So I like to build up these functions kind of gradually, so let's do that. We're going to use equal lambda. You need Excel 365, and I'm not sure what other versions of Excel use this, but I know Excel 365 now has the lambda functions in them. And I can name the parameters, so I'm just going to call it seed1, seed, and to make these optional, you put square brackets on them. So we're going to go seed2, square bracket, comma, and then seed3. And then we will put the square bracket in, and I will go ahead and I'm going to put Alt Enter to get a new line, and I'm going to space. We're going to put a few Alt Enters in, and then hit the close paren, just so I don't mess up my parentheses. I'll spread that out a little bit. And for the first one, like I say, I like to build these up gradually so that make sure that it works. With the lambda function, you need the parameters, and then after the last parameter, you're going to put in the calculation. These kind of have somewhat started to take place of the old. You could do this in VBA, but then you would need a macro enabled worksheet. With the lambda functions, you do not need that. This is a regular spreadsheet. And so we're just going to go seed1 plus seed2, just to make sure it works, plus seed3. And we'll hit enter. For the lambda functions to work, when you just type them in the spreadsheet like this, you do have to give the parameters right afterwards. So we're going to have 100, 200, 300. This one should just add them together, and it does. So that part's working okay. So now we just I'm going to use a let function You don't have to use a let function here, but we'll get into why I would want to do that in a little bit. I'll put in a few more and close paren so I don't lose track of my parentheses here. And again, I'm going to let SD underline 1 just equal to seed 1 and SD underline 2 equal to seed 2. These are key value pairs, if you like, seed and 2. You don't need to do this, but it may make things little easier. Alt enter to kind of spread those out, comma, and then we can also use within a formula. You can use control copy, control C, and control V. And we can then just replace that with 3 and 3. And then we will put in our calculation here. Alt enter again. Seed 1 plus SD2 plus SD3. And again, we're just adding 3 numbers, but we're kind of making sure this works as we go. So here we go. And still working. So now I'm going to copy. Once I have a few lines that are copied, I'm going to go ahead and copy this down and work on the next row. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Hopefully that's visible. All right. So now we've got this working. Now I'm going to replace some of these calculations here. We're going to say seed 2. And I'm going to use the if statement. So if, I'll close the parenthesis there. And then for the condition, I'm going to use is omitted right here. And it needs another paren there. And then I'm going to go seed 2. So if seed 2 is omitted, then I'm going to put in we can put in 200, comma. And if it's there, I'm going to just give the value of seed 2. So now I'm just seeding it with a particular value. We could put anything here. I think I'm going to go ahead and see if this runs. So I'm going to hit enter, and it looks like I'm doing okay. And I'm going to play the same game here. Okay, and now I've got these in. And hit enter to make sure that still works. And I'm just going to test it by removing these parameters, and it should still work even when I get down to 1 parameter, and it does. So now the one I had set up would be, instead of using like 200 for the default value, I can go row, and if the row doesn't take an argument, it assumes the current row, and column here. I also considered some multiple of seed 1, but you can set it up the way you'd like. So anyway, now when I hit enter, well, if I put in all the parameters, it's going to be the same. If I remove some parameters, it'll be different, and it should be different in both directions. So that now that works. Now I'm going to actually use for seed 1, seed 2, and seed 3 this Wichmann-Hill algorithm, which is really a fairly simple function. You use modular arithmetic to calculate new values for seed 1, seed 2, seed 3, and I can just put those right in here into the if statements, and then it adds them up using, again, modular arithmetic with a value of 1, so it's only taking the decimal for these values here. So I won't bore you with typing that, but I will be right back with that typed in. Okay, you can see I've taken this straight from Wikipedia and just used the modular arithmetic here, which is basically division and then getting the remainder. And I use this algorithm, and when I hit enter, I only have one parameter here. So when I hit enter here, let's see and make sure it's still working. And it is, and this should change. And it doesn't for some reason. We're not changing. So go back, figure out what I did wrong here. Okay, I forgot to change these to SD2 and SD3, so they weren't referring to those cells. So when I hit enter on this, since I'm giving it all 3 parameters here, it would be the same no matter if it's copied. But if I leave off some parameters, in this case, we'll just put in the first parameter. Now the other ones take on values of the rows and the columns. Okay. So that's not changing much, and we're going to go ahead but it is changing. So we're going to fix that. The seeds really for this algorithm, if you look, should be between 1 and 30,000, and we're feeding it very similar numbers. So we can just fix that by multiplying these, doing a little bit more modular arithmetic, where we're going to multiply these by 30,000. And we'll spread them out a bit. So if we go times 30,000 here, and we should, well, let's take it down to 300. Let's try 300, and I'm going to do the same thing to all of them. Then I'm going to make sure that it's a number between 1 and 30,000 by doing, again, some modular arithmetic. And then I'll be able to then define the lambda function, the real function that's going to call this lambda function. So I'll be right back after we get that coded in. Okay, we're back. All I've done here is expanded this mod row 200 just means that it's going to pick a number between 1 and 200. We're going to multiply it by 150. So that'll give us a big number and give us that spread between 1 and 30,000. And so we've done that with all the rest of these too. So it's basically the same function. And you can see that if I copy this down either across, it spreads them out. So the random numbers or pseudo random numbers are not right next to each other. Okay, now we're going to take this lambda function and we're going to copy it. So this is Control C. And we're going to escape now, and we're going to go to Control F3. This is the name manager. You can also get to that by going to formulas. I'll just do that. Formulas and name manager. It's the same thing. We're going to define a new variable, and we're going to call it rand underline SD is what I called it. And then we're going to put in right here, instead of referring to a portion on the sheet, we're going to say this is Control V. We're going to copy in our lambda function, and when we say OK and close, we can then use this lambda function, which is again the seeded random number generator underline SD, and we'll feed it 3 values and hit enter, and we get a value error. Okay, so I'll track that down. Let's see what we've got. I probably didn't get the whole thing in there. Let me try one more time. Oh, that's my problem. I need to leave this off. So we're going to leave that off. There we go. Try again. Copy, Control C. We're going to go back up to the escape, go back to the name manager. We're going to edit this function now, and we will paste it in, Control V and OK, and we'll hope for the best. Yes, that turned into a number. That's a good sign. If we copy this down, I'm giving it all 3 parameters, so it's going to stay the same. And either if I copy it across or down, if I remove one of the parameters, okay, it will change. If I copy it across but not down, so any copying across will be different, but down. And if I remove 2 parameters, it will change copying. It's using the column and the row values as seeded input, and therefore it works in either direction. So that's a little bit on using the lambda functions. They're really quite useful. These used to be user-defined functions that you would do in VBA, but this is really no programming required, really, just or getting into the VBA editor or anything like that. All it is putting in the functions into this lambda and copying it into the name manager, making sure it has the correct name. If you go up here and put in the comments, that will be put in when give people hints when they hover or type in that function, so it might kind of make it handy for them. So I don't believe you can put anything in the help where they can do like a normal function and put them in one at a time like that, but you could certainly let people know what parameters are needed. Thanks for watching.